Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shared Tangos with Trent Ziori. This is episode number 8. I am back from my stint at the University of British Columbia this past weekend, and today we are ready to break down all things DPC. And I'm glad we didn't rush into this one, Trent, because this is a complicated system we got here. There's a lot of ins and outs, and we've already had at least one update, if not more to come. So excited to talk every angle of this thing and try to digest what Dota 2 is going to look like in the 2020-21 circuit. Bud, welcome back to the show. How you feeling?
Thank you. Well, you're welcome for delaying our podcast by being extremely ill.
Yeah.
So now that I'm done that and we've learned more about this new system, we're more informed as we get to discuss it. So a thank you to me. You're very welcome.
Yes, indeed.
I'm cautiously optimistic would be the first thing I would say. Feeling good about the next season. How about you?
I would agree. I think that's like my overused term that I tell everybody about everything these days. Like, yeah, you know, I'm feeling kind of positive if other people don't fuck up the stuff that they claim they won't fuck up. So, yeah. Anything else happening in your world before we dive into the DPC stuff? Because I do want to talk a little bit of Vancouver, dude. My second time back in the city. First time was for TI8. And I did a panel with the CEO of Evil Geniuses, the card player manager of Team Liquid, and I think you know this guy, Captain Canuck, one of Vancouver's best Dota locals. He's like a 6K MMR player, Twitch streamer, and the product manager at Dota Buff.
That's right. Oh yeah, I know the lad quite well. Oh. We've played many a Dota game together. Good guy. Well, that's cool. I didn't know he was on your panel. And the CEO of EG. Damn, look at you.
Yeah, and Travis Gafford was also there. Originally, he was supposed to be on my panel, but then he got bumped to be on like the content creator panel or whatever it was. So pretty cool then. It was my first time doing an actual panel like that. I've presented and I've done individual Q&A, but I've never done the 4 people lined up, one moderator, and it's that kind of mixture of group chat, but also one-on-one with the moderator and kind of piggybacking on each other's answers. It was a pretty cool experience. EG have a hell of a CEO, man. She was incredible.
Yeah, everything I've seen with her has been very interesting. I really like the way that she's blended in terms of like the vibe that they try and play at EG. I think she's done a very good job of that.
Yeah.
But what was it weird being asked questions and not being the host of your own panel?
No, but at the same time, there were a few moments where I almost asked a follow-up question to somebody and then realized, like, wait, no, that's not my job here. I'm just on the other end of the street. The hardest part, I think, is metering your responses, as I felt like all of us probably could have expanded more on our answers, but we didn't want to like hog the stage or take mic time away from the other panelists. And it was good that we all had different backgrounds, but at the same time, we didn't know each other that well, so there wasn't a huge degree of comfort with like, knowing the limits or what everybody's comfortable with and that kind of stuff. But there was a funny moment where Nicole said, EG or someone asked about how to monetize for teams right now, and she said, right now esports teams are really in the R&D phase. This is the infancy. We're really early on, and we're still trying to figure out the answer to some of these hard questions, which is true. And then I was like, well, it's pretty crazy to think that we're in the infancy baby step stages now, because 10 years ago when I was first getting started, that was really the R&D infancy baby step stage. I feel like we've been overusing this phrase that esports is in its infancy. We've been saying that for 20 years now. I don't think we're in our infancy anymore.
It's kind of like how the age of the acceptable to live at home with your parents just keeps increasing. That's what esports teams are doing. Now it's cool to live at home till you're 25.
Right.
You don't have to be kicked out the second you're 18, I guess. So that's kind of how EG's feeling. I don't know. The first thing I remember is the second she got hired for EG, they had a betting sponsor the next day. And I said, a Chinese betting sponsor. I was like, all right, she has come in to get the team the cash. That is the investors saying, get going.
Yeah. Vancouver, though, man, I love it. I stayed in the Westin in downtown. Holy shit, that thing is nice. I drove by the Fairmont. Some good memories there.
I was going to say, isn't that the same one we stayed in for TI, but then I remembered you weren't invited.
Was it the Bay Shore? Is that the one you guys stayed in?
I don't remember. It was like the one that's in the center of downtown.
No, this one's on the north side, this particular Westin.
Oh, okay.
But there's also a Sheraton that's quite nice. Yeah, no, I didn't stay there, but And big thanks to UBC for getting me out there. They got me a pretty good setup, and it was a lot of fun. It's really cool to work with students and see like what is inevitably the next generation of esports and where their perspective is and kind of how their events run, because these events are all student organized. This is all volunteer. This is all people like in the esports club, and it's cool to see people get a taste of that event management life and see that frazzled look on their face the morning of when they stayed up all night running cables and reorganizing tables. And I don't know.
I see comments from people who just try and run like a Smash tournament or a small like league is very popular in terms of like universities. I feel like if there's anything at a university, they have like a league tournament maybe once a week, and you can just see the amount of questions and the stress and the frustrations that they go through. And when you try and scale that up, like it's kind of cool that they get a chance to like pick your guys' brains about that stuff.
It's a great learning experience for them to put an event like that together, but then also get to work with folks that have actually been in the industry. I wish more of the universities had like a project manager person though to help them like kind of lead the ways. I feel like they're thrown at the wolves. If you get the funding unlocked, it's sort of like, all right, esports club, now figure it out. And that is hard. I mean, I remember the first couple events I did when you don't know any of the parameters and you're just taking guesses. You screw up a lot of stuff because you don't know what you don't know. So I tried my best to play mentor a little bit, but
What was the general like, I guess, like questioning from like what was their like big interest in terms of the students that attended?
So everyone was pretty career focused. I think some of it is because Dota doesn't really have a huge presence on the university level. Overwatch is huge right now. I see that like every esports club I go to, it's half Overwatch people and then half every other game kind of sprinkled in to that other part of the pie chart. So I think a lot of them look at me and they're like, I know what Dota is.
A second though. Hold on. That's very interesting. So, is that something that we've been underappreciating when it comes to Overwatch? Just like really quickly here, that there actually is this like hidden level that's gonna start growing out of university, and they're all actually gonna watch Overwatch League and shit. Like when we all just kind of laugh at it.
I mean, potentially. I think if you're in college, it makes sense. If you're thinking about going pro or playing competitively in North America, it's one of few leagues that actually has some mobility to it. Where you could play contenders and make your way up. So. Potentially, to be fair, I haven't gone to like that many universities, so
I've had the same experience. Like, I know that in terms of collegiate leagues that occur, Overwatch is one of the ones that you actually hear about.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what other games. Smash is also surprisingly big. It was huge at UBC, and I think that might have been a little disproportionate, but it was big in New Jersey. They definitely have a Smash group in Colorado here. I think like Smash is positioned very well, dude. The hype around that game is nuts. It actually they had my panel's on Saturday, so in the auditorium next to mine was just their weekly Smash meetup tournament thing that they play with students and whoever else wants to show up, and that room was packed, dude. That shit was hype. And it reminded me very much of that post that Hopbid just made about the Melee tournament they did at BTS for the staff, and seeing people that had never played the game before start to get into it and like really embrace the friendlies and all that kind of stuff, and you see it develop. It reminds me a lot of StarCraft 2 in 2010, 2011. It's not that the infrastructure was there, it's that the audience was there. And people were playing in my open $25 tournaments, for 100 people would show up to play for $25. They weren't playing for the prize pool, they were just playing for the practice and the hype of getting to compete, not on the ladder. And I mean, if Blizzard hadn't fucked up that whole ecosystem, maybe StarCraft 2 would still be a tier 1 esport. But I don't know, man. I'm more than cautiously optimistic on Smash these days. I think Smash.
Well, I mean, they just got the massive news dropped with the 125K prize pool for Melee and 125K for Ultimate for a yearly circuit that's going to include points depending on tournaments.
What's your take, dude? Are you hype? Are you upset? This is a nice little precursor to DPC here.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very impressive what they've done without developer support. If you have ever wanted to get into Melee, there's never been a better time. Like, if people are like, best time to plant a tree, it was 20 years ago. Second best time is today. It's the same thing with Melee. Yeah, you're going to be behind, but it doesn't matter. Like, Melee is just like so insanely fun. Ultimate's cool too. But I can't really go out there and hardcore recommend. Like, if I was going to say which one you want to get into, play Melee. But if you don't want to be super intense, Ultimate is a better casual version that's a lot easier and accessible. That's for sure.
Feels like Melee has more depth, but personally, I get more short-term enjoyment out of playing Ultimate.
Yes, you'll get way more short-term enjoyment. There's no doubt about that.
But,
in fact, it's probably better to even try Ultimate if you already have a Switch. And if you really get into Ultimate, then you might even want to just backtrack to Melee. But, it's the interesting thing there is that it's not official, but they don't need the official capacity. As long as Nintendo's not going to shut them down, not being official is actually beneficial for the Smash scene because Nintendo doesn't offer any benefits when it comes to helping out with these tournaments. The only thing they do is they restrict you on modding, which is a necessity, essentially, for Melee to function properly. They don't let you run all the controller fixes, the universal controller fix, which is super important for making it that all GameCube controllers can function at a competitive level. And but anyway, very exciting stuff.
Yes, indeed. For anyone in Colorado, I am presenting for their career day in like 2 weeks. It's Friday the 13th, actually. Spice and I, our audio engineer, are going to be going up there, help people with some resumes, help folks understand how to stand out in the sea of contractors out there, and focus that career on a little bit of esports. I'm doing the circuit, dude. I'm doing a book tour. Get the fuck out of here. Hey, we gave away some sick Moonduck merch. I showed up with a full Vera Bradley bag of hoodies, t-shirts, mouse pads, pins, and you guessed it, signed Zyori books, dude. There were some excited fans to win a copy of Surviving Esports out there. Captain Canuck won a copy, actually. He was very genuine. He pretended to be excited. I appreciated that. It was very, very nice.
Wow, that's amazing, actually.
Oh, God.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So anybody in Colorado, come on out. I think it's open to just anyone in the Student Center at CU Boulder. So come on up to Yuppie Paradise and let's talk shop.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I guess before, again, as we keep delaying the DPC, have you seen the hot news on what? Let me say I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Valorant? Is that what Project A's official name is?
Yeah.
Am I correct there?
You are right. Valorant. Yeah, I followed the Twitter yesterday.
Favorite hot take so far, PPD. Let me just bring up the tweet here. I'd hate to misquote my good friend. When Valorant kills Overwatch League, Blizzard will be done with esports. Hot take. That's what he wrote in his tweet.
I actually did see that tweet. I might have liked it because it did give me a chuckle.
It's a dank tweet. I'm going to like that for sure. I didn't realize I hadn't liked it.
Yeah.
My initial reaction, few people way too overhyped on Twitter. Just saying. I mean, yeah, it looks okay. Everybody relax. I'd say people are immediately comparing it to Overwatch League, which is very helpful for Valorant because, I call Overwatch just Overwatch League, but I guess for good reason. People are immediately comparing it to Overwatch because it just straight up looks better because of, guess what, guys? The gunplay. The gunplay already looks better than Overwatch. And you know what the problem is with Overwatch is that Blizzard said, how do we get the people that play Hearthstone and Diablo and World of Warcraft to all play a shooter game? What if we made gunplay the lowest thing on the totem pole and put abilities and all this other bullshit above it and put gunplay as the least important thing? That will make them play because they'll all feel like they're good. What if we just had guns that you just are pyro from TF2 on 7 different characters?
Yeah. The consensus I saw was pretty much Counter-Strike, not too nervous.
Exactly. That's what I would say. Other games, yeah, you're in trouble.
So I think the hype around this game is on a business side. I think I've been trying to work with teams a little bit more and just get a pulse of what that side of the industry is at. And there is so much buzz around Project A. Everyone thinks this is going to be the next big league franchise, and they want to get in on the ground floor before the slots are worth a shitload of money. And this is where all these like kind of tier 2, tier 1.5 teams that are on the fringe think they're going to be able to make their mark, take a team at pretty low cost, and then sell it for $2 million 2 years from now when the league is super developed, or 2 years from whenever it starts. I don't think that hype is necessarily warranted. I think it's wishful thinking of it's Riot. We know what they've done with LCS. We hope they're going to carbon copy it, and then we can make some of that free money that TSM made back in the day. That's the perspective, not that I agree with it. And of course, that has nothing to do with the gameplay or if the player base will actually embrace it. You know, having the tie with League is great, and there will be some crossover, but you're going to have to steal shooter fans from another game for this to really be a tier 1 esport.
Yeah, but don't they just have to target? Like, I don't think they're going after CSGO. I think they're after the Overwatch market for sure. And then that, like, what's that Chinese version? Crossfire? Is that it? They're after the Crossfire.
Okay, that's fair.
It's partially CSGO too, sure. But I think they're looking for, like a little bit less intense audience. You know what I mean? Like, they want people to have the backdrop abilities to, like, kind of boost themselves up and make it so that their gunplay isn't the most important thing that has to win the game. It's actually relevant, unlike Overwatch, I feel like.
Yeah.
Of course, it is a little relevant. I'm being a bit hyperbolic there, but it's I feel like it'll have a better casual edge to it, and they're really going to promote the shit out of it using League. Like, just that whole player base that they have.
You know, maybe I've just been doing too much Freya Stein research, but gunplay sounds so awful to me. Like, I hear that and just think porn or something adult automatically. Gunplay.
Like, gunplay?
I'm not a fan of that vernacular.
Well, the other game that's making the big noise is Diabolical.
Oh, right.
James, right? Huge weekend. They had a big beta weekend. Everyone who I've seen playing it has been having a great time. I've caught a couple streams. I've heard very good feedback. They've already started pushing some balance changes. Everyone seems to be pretty excited for a Quake successor to come through.
This was such a weird project because I witnessed a little bit of this development in one of the hubs. I actually stayed at the good studio where I casted with Draskell. It was maybe in 2016. 2015, whenever that like first DPC circuit was going. I think it was ESL, one of the Frankfurt majors. But he had like artists literally in the house just making shit. We were watching Always Sunny on their lunch break. They were super nice guys. But I remember thinking, is this real? Like, is this actually going to launch and be a game that's making a big splash? And, you know, is this going to live up to the hype? And that was 5 years ago. And I'll be honest, I actually forgot about it. I forgot that Diabotical was a thing. And I hadn't heard from James. I think the last time I talked to him was in 2017 maybe, or maybe early 2018, and I said something like, how's it going? And he said, it's great. Being a game developer is super easy. And I said, is it really, or are you just fucking around? He said, no, I'm being serious. I feel like Superman. And I didn't really know what to say, so I didn't.
Nice.
I haven't thought about James since then. But yeah, dude, they have made such a buzz with it, and it seems like the patience was worth it. They waited till the right time when the market would be really receptive to this kind of game, and it looks pretty polished for, like, what is this? Is this an alpha release or a beta release? What is this technically?
I believe this is called a beta weekend.
This is beta weekend.
If I'm not
okay.
mistaken.
I don't know. Everything I've seen has looked pretty good. I think they've nailed that. You need to have cute stuff. You know, aesthetics matter.
Yeah, I would say. I'm curious to see what kind of an audience there is for it. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I don't know what kind of a player base or esports there is. Yeah. I don't know a lot about the Quake scene, the arena FPS stuff, and how big that still is. Obviously, it's something that used to be much larger. It'll be like in 20 years if MOBAs have died out and someone just brought out a new MOBA and all us old guys are like trying to plug in our keyboards and mice and being like, oh, I played Dota. I'm coming for you. Yeah. Something like that, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. But again, cautiously optimistic for the future of that. Are there any competitors?
Happy-go-lucky today.
Huh?
Quake Champions, I think, is the only competitor, right?
And is that popping, right? Like, is there
that
Quake
even
Champions?
Still a thing?
Yeah. Not that I
have
know
no
of.
idea. 2017 that came out.
Yeah.
Oh, it became free to play in August 10th, 2018. That's always a good sign.
Oh, that is always good to reward your legacy community like that. Hey, you guys want to buy this thing and then we'll just give it away to everyone else and you can make all these new friends? That sounds fun, right?
Quake Pro League still exists, apparently, according to one of our chatters.
So,
yeah, I wouldn't say it's one of the booming esports genres.
No, yeah, fair enough. Well, maybe Too Good can save us. I'm If there's anyone that knows how to set up an esport that the people care about, it is James Harding.
For the people. That's
the hero of surviving esports.
Is that? Oh, you have to get to the end of the book for that, or
he pops up at the end. I think there's a chapter called "Meeting Too Good."
Oh, there you go.
There were a couple lines in there that I wrote and I felt very happy about when I was complaining, and he's just standing there staring at me like, "All right, quit your whinging. Your mouth's what's that line from Game of Thrones? Your mouth's moving and you're not saying anything constructive. That's whinging."
Is that from Game of Thrones? That doesn't sound like Game of Thrones.
No, it's the gee, I can't remember the characters' names anymore. It says it to Tormund, the tall dude, the big guy, the Hound. That's it.
Thank you. Good on you, buddy.
All right, let's move into some Dota 2 DPC chatter, and I think this will probably occupy the rest of the podcast. I'm going to write down this timestamp. Exactly 20 minutes in. The DPC chat begins.
All right, welcome to the podcast. All of you just skipped over all our non-Dota 2 talking.
I
Pleasure
feel it.
to have you here.
This is what I do to the ads on Joe Rogan these days. Like, yeah, see you later. Heard this before. Sorry. I'll buy it next time, Joe. So a lot of things to unpack here, and I guess we're going to start with the original announcement. This came out February 25th. So it's been about a week now since we got this big drop that after TI-10, the Dota 2 Pro Circuit is going to completely change systems to really structure a Tier 2 and a Tier 3 scene. Now we're going to have 3 majors, and each major will have a set of regional leagues that take the place of the minor and the qualifiers that existed previously before. So now the season's broken up into thirds, and then that will lead into 12 teams going to TI. We'll still have TI qualifiers and all that good stuff. But we are a league format now, or at least we will be in about 6 months' time. It's broken into an upper division and a lower division for each region. So each within a third. So you got this major. You've got an upper and a lower. The upper has 8. The lower has 8.
This is not all sunk in yet, dude.
So there's 16 teams for each region, and there are still 6 regions.
Can we please just go over that once again? Sorry. So how many teams are there in the upper league of every region?
8.
8 teams. Cool, man. I can think of 8 good teams in each region.
Per region.
What was that about 8 more teams?
So there's the lower division.
There's 8 more teams.
And that also is 8 teams.
My goodness.
So 16 teams, and every jump between major, so major 1 ends, and then we start the next part of the circuit leading into major 2. The bottom 2 teams from uppers will go down to lower, and the top 2 teams from lower go into upper. So there's a little switcheroo there.
Oh, can we sidebar here?
Yes.
I've seen some Europeans. Any Europeans in the chat? They're more familiar with these league systems. Not really a style that we do with the relegation here in the glorious North America. And I saw many of the Europeans upset that in this relegation, you don't play for the relegation. And I thought that makes a lot of sense, Europeans. Why is that? You shouldn't, if you come 7th, 8th in the upper division, you shouldn't get demoted without a chance to play against the 1st and 2nd from the lower division.
I hadn't really thought about that. So it's not good that it's automated. You should still be able to play for your life in the uppers.
Yeah. Yeah, you should get to play the guys. Because, what if you're just, better and it's just going to be stupid? If they just take your spot, they suck all season, and then you're like, oh, thank God, those guys wasted those 2 slots in the upper division.
Yeah, this reminds me, is it Ford or which company that they always fired the bottom 3% of employees no matter how good they were? So it's that's probably a cool strat for 10 years or so, and then you're just firing people that are pretty good. I understand you're trying to create this incentive to make sure that you're not in the bottom, but yeah, I don't know. You didn't have any good years in there where everybody performed?
Yeah, but I would say that looks concerning to me. I would hope that gets changed, because that just seems pretty obvious to me of maybe we should make them play a best of 3, or I would think a best of 5 would be fair. Well, pretty big deal.
Powder 020 says auto regulation is just standard for soccer, to which I would say that's why soccer's a shitty sport.
How dare you?
One of several
There's
reasons. I
Europeans
actually
here.
like soccer, but I couldn't help but get a poke in there. So that's the basic foundation. So let's let that sink in here. Quickly recap some numbers because this is a lot of Dota. These leagues are going to be a full round robin, all series, best of 3. So we're talking a lot of Dota here. We don't have, is it at the bottom of this post? So we have some basic dates for when the leagues are going to take place. And then Valve also gave us a schedule of when uppers and lowers will take place. So it's pretty interwoven, but if you're, for example, doing like all the uppers and all the lowers for one part of the circuit, I mean, it's basically 24/7 coverage. We're at the point where during these leagues, you can watch 24/7 Dota and not even catch all the action. There are overlapping games.
If you're in chat, I've linked a handy graphic that I tweeted out. Don't forget to follow it while you're there. On my Twitter, it shows you if you're looking blue games. So all of Monday is blue. That means there are no major games on Mondays. It's only going to be minor teams playing. If you see yellow, that means that only major teams are playing. AKA, I'm calling minor and major as in the lower and the upper divisions, to be clear.
Right.
And green means that there's shared time slots. So overall, it's pretty divided. There's not a lot of shared time. Some of the regions got better time zones than others, I would say. It's a bit rough, but especially for North America. Like if you're an East Coast NA fan, buddy, you're not gonna be catching very many of those lower division North American games. They all start at midnight Eastern. They start at 1 a.m. Atlantic from my time zone.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
North America has definitely gotten the short end of the stick, I would say. I guess, so one thing to keep in mind is that a really disproportionate amount of Dota fans, Dota teams, general Dota fandom in North America is on the West Coast. California, Seattle are the big hubs. The East Coast has proven time and time again it's not really that relevant for Dota. So if you have to pick your poison, I do sort of get it. However, that does alienate a shitload of potential viewers that would probably like to watch these games not at 3 in the fucking morning. And I think that also hurts viewership. Another big factor here.
I feel like maybe we should have just cut that other that last time slot. I feel like all of the 9 p.m. games could have just been squished in with the 6 p.m. games, and we just went for it. That's how I feel, at least. In fact, if you had a minor game on the Tuesday, move that minor game to the Wednesday, minor game to the Thursday. Yeah, you could actually do it.
Wait.
Literally just move them all
this
up.
schedule changed. I'm looking at the actual live post introducing the regional leagues, and currently there are no matches scheduled for 9 p.m. Pacific.
What the fuck? They
changed
got rid of it. They changed it, guys.
They ninja changed it. I'm not even joking.
You're right. It's gone.
So before we could even get on this podcast to bitch about the time zones, somebody emailed Valve and said, yo, dog, my team's East Coast. We're not starting matches at midnight.
Wait, they literally just did exactly what I was just describing. They just moved them all over to the empty days.
Delete the tweet, bruh.
Oh, that's dope. Oh, whatever. I mean, that tweet's like a week ago. I don't feel bad about that.
Or, give yourself some credit for fucking sniping it. Maybe your tweet is what spurred the change. Maybe Bruno saw that.
It had 104 likes. So
I mean, was one of those likes Ice Frogs? I've heard Ice Frog is a silent lurker, so you never know. Maybe he saw that and was like, this fucking Atlantic caster might be onto something. This is why we're inclusive here in Dota. We get all the perspectives.
My heroes. Well, that's great.
So this was a great live example, though, of how difficult all of this is to digest. I'm glad I noticed this because I'm not going to lie. I was working on a proposal yesterday that had a different schedule.
I mean, I can't believe we just said. I mean, if I was them, I would just take all those 9 p.m. games and squish them to 6 p.m. It's already been done, guys. Valve are so ahead of the curve. Well, that's hilarious. I guess we'll link that if you guys haven't already popped in there. There's the blog post that has updated schedules now.
Yeah.
Hype.
So
thanks, Valve.
Okay, well, that's one thing off the list to complain about. The NA schedule is slightly better. So prize pool distribution, this is kind of cool. There is prize pool in both the uppers and the lowers. So if you're in the upper division, First through 8th place, guaranteed money. $30,000 for first and $22,000 for 8th, and it scales all the way down. I like this a lot. You get DPC for placing in the top 5 of the upper division, but you get money all the way through. In the lower division, 1st through 6th get money. So first place and lower is $17,000. Sixth place and lower is $7,000, and then bottom 2 and lower are eliminated from lower and also get no money. So it's not all the way down. If you completely bomb out, you do walk away with nothing but a handshake and a little bit of practice.
Well, pat on the back and a better luck than the next round there, boys.
Yeah. And it looks like, so there will still be open qualifiers as well. That's where those teams that replace those eliminated from lowers, those 2 that move out every section, there will be opportunities for opens where teams can still participate. I don't think there is any prize pool for opens. So that part's good. I'm very Are you happy with the prize pool distribution? I think when this announcement was made, this was the first thing I was looking at. That was one of the biggest criticisms across all the posts with TI has all this money. We need to take 1% and trickle it down. Is this real trickle down or is this Ronald Reagan trickle down?
I would say it looks pretty good to me because of the, you get 30K for first or 28K for second. So obviously the cash doesn't matter. It goes down by 1K in each of the upper ones. So the money is basically a stipend to like continue playing. The DPC points is the big thing because you get just as many points for winning the league as you do for winning the major. So
right, and those will be the same teams in a lot of cases, right? Because the upper division includes all of the teams in the region. So like EU is fucking stacked. You're gonna have Secret versus OG as just like a round robin match online. You know, you're gonna have Enigma versus Secret. Some of these regions, it's fucking hype. And if you win and then you go to win the major, you're racking up DPC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We'll see.
I feel like I need to see it in practice, but I do think this really helps. This feels way better than the minors that we had in the last circuit. The old minors just kind of felt like tier 1.5 type tournaments. Like they didn't really help the tier 2 scene. They were just a buffer for the tier 1 teams that didn't make it, and then a couple teams that were sort of forever minor teams, right? We knew they would go to minors, but would really struggle to win, or if they did, really struggle in the actual major.
Dude, can we do a David versus Goliath series where we make lower division teams play against upper division teams? Can we get a betting sponsor on that, guys? Dude, that sounds awesome.
What, just set up the value bets? Okay, guys, out of the gate, it's a 7-to-1 ratio.
Yes, exactly. Well, here's my thought process, is that you don't get to play very much in this new league setup, right? Because it's 6 weeks long, and you have 1 versus 1 round robin thing. So there's going to be a lot of scrimming happening. But when would a major team or an upper team ever want to scrim a lower team? Well, what if we paid them to scrim with a betting sponsor? And just these crazy odds.
Trent,
all right, anyway.
I also just noticed, I had skipped over this, but for the majors, they've already told us the slots.
For the regions? Yes, that is true.
So it says the season will conclude with a major tournament featuring 18 teams from all regions. So it's 18, not 16 at the major. 500K prize pool plus DPC points. The 18 teams are from the top spots from each regional upper division. Regions will have fixed amounts of slots throughout the year. Europe and China each get 4. North America and Southeast Asia each get 3. CIS and South America each get 2.
So, and then as you notice, it's basically a seeded bracket to start based on how you did in the league. So if you came first in your league, you automatically get to go to the upper bracket.
Oh, you're right. All right, so let's go step by step here. So this is a big change to the major format. So majors now start with a wild card.
Right.
And the wild card is 6 teams that play in a 2-game series round robin. It's a BO2, which is a term I know most people hate. So the top 2 teams from the group stage move on to the next round of the major. Bottom 4 in the wild card are eliminated. So of the 18 teams, pretty much right away, 4 get eliminated before the group stage even starts.
Yep. Yeah. Then we take those 2 teams and they go to the group stage.
Right. And those teams are figured out from the 3rd and 4th place from all the leagues. So if you are 3rd or 4th in Europe, 3rd or 4th in China, 3rd in NA, or 3rd in C, then you play in the wild card.
Correct.
Weird.
And then if you make it through the wild card as one of those 2 teams, you get to go to the group stage, which is now 8 teams making up of those 2 teams that just made it from the wild card, and then the 2nd place team from every league. Yes. So 6 regions, 6 more teams, 8 team total, another 2-game series round robin, and the top 2 teams advance to the upper bracket, 3rd to 6th place advance to the lower bracket, and 2 teams get eliminated. So now we just call another 2 teams to take 6 more teams to move into our 12-team double elimination playoff bracket.
And that's where all the first place teams are waiting from the leagues and the top 2 from the group stage. And then the lower bracket is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th from the group stage. So you get automatically seeded into the loser bracket, 1 loss away from elimination. Jesus.
Yeah. It's a lot to take in, but I like it. I like it better than GSL groups, that's for sure.
100%.
How long have we complained about those?
100% agree.
I like seeing everyone play against everyone. That's what I want.
So this is one of these, I feel like I need to see it happen a couple times to really be able to visualize it. But the TLDR is that the better you do in the upper division, the further along you are seeded into the actual major tournament itself. So if you win the upper division, your reward, aside from getting cash and DPC points, is that you start in the bracket of the major. You basically just show up at the major 5 days late. And you're like, hey, guys, what's going on? Oh, you guys are cool. Basically half the teams are competing for a couple of spots in the bracket, the upper bracket, I should say.
And these majors, there's going to be, how many? 3 majors, right, for the whole year?
Correct.
So now that means that with 3 majors and a 6-week season, the window for third-party tournaments is quite small. Mm-hmm. That is something that has been brought up right away as being a little bit worrisome for some of the Tier 1 teams who like going to those tournaments for both practice and for additional prize money, obviously.
Yeah.
They don't want to play right before a major. They don't want to play during the big holidays. And already One Esports, who pulled off the successful One Esports Singapore Invitational, just slapped down their big old cojones and said, yeah, we're taking the 23rd to the 29th with PGL. Thank you very much. We got 500K, Jakarta. Get the hell out of our time slot. So sad, too bad.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Now, this event was supposed to happen sooner, if I'm not mistaken. I believe this is a coronavirus event.
Mm-hmm.
It was teased a couple times, but obviously it wasn't able to happen in the coming months, so they've postponed it to a better time.
That's a gamble.
I mean, it's 23rd to 29th of November. What more can you do?
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, a big old slap down. I mean, that's the play, right? There's not a lot of weeks. You got to take those things.
There are not. And that's what I've been wondering, where does Moonduck fit into this? Where is elimination mode fit into this schedule? And that is certainly an interesting conversation. And some of the folks...
Dude, that's easy. That's in the middle of the week, baby.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Are you serious? That's the beauty of online events.
Yeah. Some of the
got nothing else to do all week.
Some of the other TOs I've talked to that are more stadium focused are a little more nervous about that. And I think it's smart from One and PGL to immediately say, yo, don't fuck with my territory, because it's going to be a battleground. Remember what happened with Midas Mode? Remember those other tournaments that were all scheduled at the same time, and they can't all happen at the same time, and it becomes this kind of Cold War of, well, we've already invested in non-refundable deposits. It just becomes this big dick mode of who's going to back down first.
52 weeks in a year, lots of time, buddy. Let me go through some quick math for you. Big teams do not want to play after TI before the first league, so you've just lost all of September. September is gone. Teams cannot leave from October until halfway through November. So
October's gone.
Yeah, so November 15th happens. All right, the league's over. We can fly out the next day. Let's go. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Let's say they do. We'll pretend. That's pretty much this Jakarta event, right? That's the 23rd or whatever. So 23rd or the 29th. That's basically, we got enough time to get to this event, get comfortable time zone, start playing. So that ends on the 29th. The major starts the 11th. Teams are going to want to be there with like 4 or 5 days. I mean, they're not going to be another tournament 4 or 5 days before. That's kind of it. That's the window.
So one aspect about this league structure, though, is when you look at all of the upper and lower divisions pushed together, it's like a 24-hour schedule. But it's not that much Dota for any individual region, right? Especially when you factor out it's broken in half. For the uppers, you could totally do some content. Like we could do an elimination mode where it isn't 3 days of full-time, like 12-hour coverage to pound out the tournament. You could do it slowly to kind of weave with the North American upper division schedule, either being later or before. So you could still do some tournaments region-specific that would compete with other regions that are on in terms of DPC coverage, but there are still gaps to like do a C tournament, for example, you know?
Well, and I mean, let's just say who plans on tuning into the lower leagues?
You know, you make a pretty good point. I think if we set up an Evil Geniuses versus J-Storm show match during the lower division NA, I mean, especially with NA, who are teams 6
like literally
8 through 16?
It's going to be Cap, Merlini, and Milk. Could make lower, like, not even joking, Veggies could make bottom 8.
8 to 16th in North America? I think they've already done that, dude. Probably right now, if they were to come together and play 3 scrims, they're about at that level. I mean, NA is the region I am most fearful for. We kind of talked about the time zones, but I guess maybe we should move on to the second post. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting into. Is there anything else about the actual structure you want to talk about here? So we're still in the first blog post that came out on February 25th.
I'm not sure if I like 6 weeks. I feel like it almost feels like they're trying too hard to not clump things together. I don't know if the viewership is that it doesn't need to give everyone so much time to watch everything. I would rather have things a little more condensed. I'm already glad they did the 3. The 9 p.m. is gone. Very happy about that. Screw the 9 p.m. slot. But I would also maybe even go a little bit further and try and cut back another week if I could.
Yeah.
But that's easy to say for me without having a giant spreadsheet of a calendar in front of me. But my initial impression is that it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have 2 best of 3s of 2 major leagues happening at the same time. And currently, that never happens. Like, I don't see the big deal if VP and Navi have to play at the same time as EG and Fighting Pandas.
Yeah.
Once or twice the season if it's going to help kind of squish that league together.
I see what you mean. There are moments where it doesn't feel that much of a cannibalization, but there is a tangible benefit there of having a little more breathing room in the schedule. I don't think we mentioned this specifically, although there are still going to be qualifiers for the international. There will no longer be open qualifiers for the international. The only open qualifiers will be for the actual leagues. There will be 3 of them, I guess, to get into the lower division every time, and 2 teams will make it. But this means that TI qualifiers are going to be some sort of regional invite type thing. What does it say here? Remaining spots decided through a 6 regional final chance qualifier, each with 8 of the best teams from each region that have not been invited to TI already. So,
right. So depending on how many teams, basically you have to be like the top of the lower division to have a chance of attending TI.
Right.
Because if like enough guys get in from the upper division through DPC points, that means that essentially it's creating more spots for your lower division teams. Yeah. To potentially battle it out versus other up division teams, obviously.
Yeah. So my takeaway from this, once I understood how it works, I think just like the last set of DPC, I feel pretty similar. This probably isn't perfect, but I think it's another step down that road of giving us a little more stability, creating some more development for the tier 2, tier 3 scene. And even though those lower matches are going to be pretty shit, they do matter, right? And I think this adds more weight to the tier 2 scene than before. It's not just about prize money. It's like this is how teams can move up from the lower division to the upper division. And there will be some awesome storylines, right? There will be some crazy team that comes in from opens, grinds out through the lowers, and they make it to an upper. And you'll look back and some of those games will be relevant. They're not just throwaway like 2K betting sponsor cups. That's what the tier 3 scene was, you know?
Yeah.
So I think this is definitely an improvement. From a structural kind of ecosystem standpoint. A little bit worse for the true tier 1 teams. They're probably going to have to play more Dota than they did before. I think that's a fair give because us TOs need to monetize some of those matches a little bit to make this thing work.
It's almost like they play less Dota and travel less.
That's less,
yes.
Feel. But they're going to play more online matches, I think. You can't just rock up to majors anymore. You have to play.
Rockstar days are over, Team Secret.
I think obviously good.
First, they made us play qualifiers. Then they made us play in a league. The audacity.
I think good for tier 2 teams, tier 3 teams. Obviously, prize pool distribution pretty low. You can actually play and get some income to stabilize. Good for viewers. I think this is great for watchability because it's a stable, consistent schedule. And that's one thing Dota has always suffered from is that crazy decentralization of qualifiers all over the place, matches all over the place. This makes the circuit as a whole much easier to follow for a casual viewer, I think. Is that fair?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, like much easier to follow.
And casters, I think it's good because this is more Dota that has to be covered. So as just content creators, casters, panelists, observers, whatever, this is Valve saying like, yo, look at all this fucking Dota. Somebody's got to cover this shit. So, you know, whether Moonduck's paying for it or someone else is hiring Moonduck to do the coverage, we still have a pretty important part in the stack. So I remain cautiously optimistic that this won't be a bad thing for talent. And talent is a pretty diverse set, of course, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, but
you know who the real winners are?
Bulldog!
The observers. No, the observers, dog.
Oh. Well,
observers.
I mean, no, Bulldog and Gork are the real winners. They're just going to sit at home and cast all this shit like they have been.
I actually thought someone made a pretty good point in chat that now they have consistent games they do have to compete with, which is kind of annoying. I mean, they could also just schedule their own stream around it.
I love that. It's kind of annoying.
Well, I mean, that's a fair point. Like, you know, it's not, I can't stream Dota. If I wanted to just stream me doing analysis of something random in Dota, like I can't do it during a major or a minor game. Like, or if I want anyone to tune in. So obviously, if you're a professional Dota 2 streamer, you do have to augment your own schedule to this. I agree, it's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, it's pretty sweet for them that they're gonna have some good games to cast, no doubt. But hopefully with the requirement of the panel and the studio and stuff, people are going to find that atmosphere that says, come watch our studio broadcast that we paid $140K for.
I'm pretty sure Bulldog's overhead is a little bit lower than the observer plus 2 casters plus panel for every fucking game. And
he has an editor.
Oh, I see. He has a moderator. But so one of the issues as well is that it's very spread out coverage. So from like a Dream League coverage perspective, it's a little rough. Like you can't just buy a hotel for a week and jam all the talent in there. You need like Airbnbs or long-term rentals for 6 weeks to get all these people held up in wherever you're holding your coverage from. You know, this financially, this is definitely a bit of a change in terms of online requirements. Weirdly enough, now I think the majors are the best deal of the whole thing.
Yes.
I think if you're ESL and you can come in and say, I want to do this major, $500K, give me my $200K, $250K for the prize pool. Like that shit, the viewership's going to be great. It's tier 1. I think that's the easiest content to monetize if you got the chops to actually run the event.
Yeah, if I'm Valve, I'm really selling the package deals, you know? I'm going to be like, well, you want the major? Maybe you could come and do this this upper league and this lower league. Oh, you want the major? Well, we've got a lower league in SA that no one's really bid on yet. I feel like there might be some deals back there Because some parts seem much more enticing compared to others, as you said.
Yeah. So we're going to move into the second post. I just linked it, and this is not on the Dota 2 blog. To find this, you need to go to the Dota 2 Twitter. So this is what they call an RFP, a request for proposal. It's a very common thing in the event space where somebody has an idea for an event or some sort of specs or a venue, and then they put a document together and say, hey, all the people out there that might want to do this event, we're looking for stuff with these parameters. Send us your proposals or bids, and we'll pick the winners and put something together. So this was the follow-up. This came out, 4 days after the original post?
Something like that, yeah.
So there was a little bit of a lag time, and a lot of us had big questions of, okay, well, I want to do one of these events. What are the parameters? And we've got it here. So the majors are fairly straightforward. Not much has changed on that front. Like I said, 500K prize pool. Valve puts up 250K. The only other requirements are it has to have at least 3 days with public attendance, has to have 5 languages, English, Russian, Chinese, Spanish, and Portuguese. VODs must be uploaded to the official Dota 2 YouTube within 2 hours of each day's conclusion.
I've just noticed, did we have another shadow change here?
What was it?
As Rossington's is pointing out, it used to say you had to have lower division games in Dota TV, right? I don't see that here. Is that gone?
So that's in the original blog post. It's still there. It says all upper matches will be presented from studio broadcasts. All lower division matches will be featured on Dota TV.
Okay, because currently in this request for proposal, it says nothing about lower division.
Correct. It does not say.
Okay.
I think
interesting.
I'm not sure if it did. I don't remember. I didn't screenshot it. So not a lot of parameters around the majors, and I think some of that is because we kind of know who are the front runners anyway. ESL, DreamHack, PGL, One, Star Ladder, I guess. A couple others mixed in there. I'm not worried about the actual majors, if I'm being totally honest.
No, they look good. They look very enticing.
So in this RFP, the thing that really caught my attention is the regional leagues. So the tournament organizer is going to have to put up $140,000 per season per league, which will be matched by Valve. So that's the 280K prize pool that trickles down for... I got to do some math here. That's upper and lower included, right?
Yes. Right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, because it's doubled.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of money to put up. And it's, again, that's not for the whole circuit. That's per season, of which there are 3 seasons. So there's 18 total leagues, 3 seasons of each, 6 regional leagues. 3 times 6, 18.
And you can't bid for just an upper or just a lower. You can partner with someone in your bid, but you can't just be like, I only want upper NA. You have to apply for both. You have to have a plan for both to get it.
Yes.
Which is big.
Which makes sense because lowers are not desirable at that price point. I mean, I don't know what.
They don't feel great.
So 140K is, you can sort of look at this as like the cost to buy the rights for that region. For a season, whether it's prize pool or it's going to whatever. That's the upfront cost to play, and then you have to factor in all of your studio costs, talent fees, travel, all that shit after that. So we're looking at fairly large budget here.
Plus, it's prioritized if you say you'll do all 3 seasons of a league. They want you to do all 3 seasons.
Right. So they want,
essentially you're starting at 420K.
Right. Valve's saying the dream for us is that we have good players in each region kind of own those regions. You know, BTS does North America, Mineski does Southeast Asia, Star Ladder does CIS, that kind of thing. I think that's a tall order, though. And what really strikes me as strange here is that every region costs the same. And I get it's normalized because of prize pools, but in terms of what are you actually getting if you fork up the money for this, it varies greatly.
That is kind of bullshit.
I think 140K for Europe is a steal.
Yeah.
Like, that is a profitable ass region. China is probably a steal as well.
Probably the biggest steal is China, just by pure numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like, surely that's the best.
North America is rough. NA Dota hasn't been in a great place. I think the upper bracket matches will get some viewership. I think if you're not hiring Grant as part of your coverage, you're a fucking idiot because he's going to steal all your viewers.
Get him, Grant.
So Grant is the real winner for the North American region. But at least it's like normalized currency. You know, you're in NA and you're using USD. So I could see a world where somebody can convince an investor to burn 140K on a season or a couple of seasons, and maybe they don't make their money back, but it's a region where there is a lot of money and a lot of investment capital. So maybe not profitable or easy to monetize, but I get it. South America is the one I don't understand. I mean, not only does the region not have a lot of sponsors, is it hard to monetize, but you're paying USD in a region that isn't USD. So if you're a South American org, the amount that you're paying just to cover this is so much higher than what you would save from like local currency of hiring studio casters or whatever. What happens if nobody bids on South America, man? Like, I do not see any way to monetize this shit and not make SA just a cash burn.
I say that when no one bids on it, Valve asks us to Midas mode it, and it will be a Midas mode league. Yeah, no, I don't actually know what the play is there,
because that is the development region, right? I think I would make the same exact argument for Southeast Asia if this were happening 5 years ago. But now C is a big enough region. They've got enough fans. They've got enough established orgs with big time money that, like, you know, Fnatic could buy this. You know, Mineski, there are definitely people that will bid on Southeast Asia. But South America is, and maybe like one of these rich team owners will just buy it because they like buying shit and they want to run it. I don't know, but I just, it gets hinky if you try to subsidize sub-regions and not other regions. Like, I sort of get it, and I can totally see why Valve would want to just throw this out there and see what comes back, and then if they don't get any proposals, then you figure out how to cross that bridge when you get there. But why not start and see if anybody's crazy enough to go for it? It's a smart business move, but I am legitimately concerned.
We did not think anyone would bid on the minors when they were first announced.
Yes.
We thought who would ever pay for these? What is the possible gain? And they all got bid on, and they all got sold, and Valve did it. And they said, yeah, we're not sure what their plan is, but they all bought it.
Yeah.
So
you're 100%
I think they're
right.
just throwing it out again. And they're
100%.
saying someone will buy it.
Now, here's the difference. Before, you were at least still buying a global tournament. And I think we underestimated the power of, hey, you still get every region on LAN. And I think a lot of those miners did lose money, but that's at least sellable to some sponsors. This isn't that. You are just getting South America. So you are truly buying a development region. And that's not even like a knock on SA. I think we need this development to take place. It's just Valve is asking someone else to foot the bill for this development, and that's a big ask. Somebody is going to get burned with this.
Or maybe they've got, I don't know, some sort of a plan.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? Of course, this is conjecture. I don't know too much. You know, I had another crazy thought, and part of me wanted to keep this secret, but given that I have so few connections down this road, I'm going to throw it out there. The other thought for North America was TV, dude. I think league format, like I thought E-League, you know, TV stuff, this is way more sellable to a TV network that wants to put some Dota on television compared to like Captain's Draft that just takes over for a weekend and then never shows up again. That is not friendly for television formats, you know?
What is the ad sale on Dota 2 on TV? Does anyone have cable?
Well, I think it's pretty shit, but there's still just so much money in traditional broadcast, and like broadcast rights and IP are really, really expensive in that sector of entertainment. So, you know, they would look at 140K as like, okay, yeah, sure. Are millennials going to watch? Are any cable nevers going to watch? All right, let's try it. Fuck it. We burned $10 million on bullshit ads last year that we don't even know if anybody saw.
Dude, I saw the Egg tournament or the Egg Network when I had hotels. I would see that Dota on their TVs and see. That was pretty cool.
Yep. I'm not.
Yeah, we were gonna chat up Netflix.
For the record, I'm not saying that it's a good match. I'm saying that broadcast television is dying, still has a lot of money, and is desperate to try to find some of the young demographic that we have. So,
true.
In terms of like, okay, how do we run North America and get paid and not waste a whole shitload of money when nobody tunes in because they're watching Grand Grant? That's like one of the only angles I could think of that, quote, makes sense, right? That I could actually see. Because one thing about Overwatch League that changed my perspective on this stuff is it's easy to underestimate the amount of crazy old rich people that are willing to spend money without understanding what they're buying. And
yeah, Blizzard definitely proved that. Like they got that one on lock, dog.
I straight up thought OWL was, all right, yeah, cool. You're going to get a couple rich folks, but there's no way you're going to sell this whole league. And they did. And then they sold expansion slots. So, 140K is a drop in the bucket compared to what some of these people spent on these teams that they have absolutely no clue how to monetize, manage. They're middle of the pack. Nobody gives a shit about them. They've got no fan base. They're excited about homestands for reasons they can't explain. I don't know. I mean, Dota's been propped up by investment in VC dollars for a while, so maybe the cycle's just going to continue, dog. I don't know.
Are we? But we're cautiously optimistic. Is that right?
So I'm cautiously optimistic about all of it except as a tournament organizer in the space that is not one of the biggest players, looking at these financials, I don't really know what the angle is. And I'm talking to other orgs, I'm trying to get a pulse, and NA and SA are the two I have big question marks on. I think the other four are going to be fine. I think people will at least break even or make money, or it'll be investment that'll help them in the future where they'll eventually find some ROI on it. I'm just a little worried for NA and SA. When I saw these announcements originally, I thought Valve was going to go 50-50 on the major prize pool and then cover all of the division, like the league prize pool. That would be 100% by Valve. So that's when I heard the word bid. It's like, yeah, we're bidding because this is a fucking great opportunity where Valve's paying for these development leagues. But
yeah, I kind of thought it would be not 50-50 at least.
Yeah. So, we're partnering up with some folks.
After.
We were making proposals for NA without that 140K investment to start and struggling to balance that thing. Once we saw that, wait, the starting line is negative 140? What the fuck? Yeah, no way. I mean, 6 weeks is a lot of coverage, dude. Even if talent are getting, let's say, 2/3 of their normal rate because it's 2 series a day instead of a 10-hour broadcast day or whatever.
Or 1 series a day.
I mean, dude, that shit adds up fast. And I don't know. It's just an odd sort of, if you're talent and you have to go live in California for 6 weeks to do the studio coverage, generally that would mean more money because you have a higher opportunity cost. You're not at home. You're not at the studio. You can't work other gigs. You're locked into this gig physically for 6 weeks, right? That was the upside for all the Overwatch League casters. Yeah, it was a big commitment, and they were able to leverage that for fat fucking salaries. Way better than what we've been able to do in Dota for one-off events like that because they're small.
They tried to pay cut them next season.
But seriously, like there is a point where the economics just don't work. Let's say we unionize, all the talent come together, we draw the line in the sand for our full day rate. If it just makes all the studios go bust, then we don't get to cast anyway. You only have as much leverage as the system allows.
Let's talk as talent then. Let's what are the requirements for an upper league broadcast? How many do we have a week in terms of the upper league? There are per region. There's 5 games. Is that right in each division? Yeah, five matches a week. So, and in these matches we have at least one host. One would assume because there has to be a panel. So there's got to be a host, at least 2 panelists. I don't think 2 people's a panel. So we're up to 3 with our panel. Mm-hmm. Then we've got 2 casters. That puts us at 5. Then you need an observer, according to the blog post. Mm-hmm. So that puts us at 6. And then I assume you need a producer. I don't think your observer is going to be a pimp muckle. Maybe he will be.
Let's say
but
minimum
that's a lot of work.
You need 1 producer.
Let's say you need 1. So we're looking at 7 people minimum per broadcast per region. That's kind of crazy. And how many regions can you do from the same? Like, let's say you were in the box together. And you could cover like C and Europe potentially on certain days, but there's no days that line up that always have the same regions. So I don't think you can like successfully cover 2 regions, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you can't bundle it so that you're doing like 3 best of 3s or 4 best of 3s with these people to like really maximize your value.
Well, so maybe though, because the thing that's weird about all this is that every other region,
the joint partnerships,
needs
that's true.
every other language caster, and that's the part of the system that I'm having trouble visualizing how it will actually work in real life. Because if I'm reading this properly, let's just say, for sake of argument, Moonduck gets North America for the first third of the circuit, that first major, upper and lower. We still need studio and panel casters for Russian, right? Still need studio and panel casters for Chinese.
Yeah.
As like the person running that org. So, and for the let's say Mineski buys Southeast Asia or China, they've One Esports, they've still got the same issue. They need English coverage that's at an acceptable studio bar level, and they're just because it's China and they're leading the China. I mean, they're not flying English casters to fucking China to do the English coverage. So
no, they're calling up BTS or the
Moonduck.
EU hub or Moonduck, and then they have to do it.
So, but that is an angle where you could, in theory, like we could own NA from an organizational standpoint. Yes, we broadcast NA, but then we partner with Mineski, and we're also doing a graveyard shift where we're doing a C panel as well.
To be fair, C will probably do their own English.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe China's a better example.
China's a better example.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But it's just an interesting sort of conundrum of like, is instead of thinking about it granularly of Moonduck owns NA, we're struggling to monetize NA, is all of it just buying rights so then you can barter with everybody else and we're all just doing hubs. You know, for that 6 weeks, it's just a full 24/7 hub for English, Russian, Chinese, Portuguese, Spanish. That's almost the way it has to go. Even if BTS bids on NA for the first one, they own it, but then they have to do coverage for every other region with all their studios. They still kind of have to hire some of the Moonduck folks and all the other talent because it's just so many fucking games to cast.
Yeah, and for people like, I've noticed actually in a lot of comment threads, my name's been tossed around because I'm the preeminent example of tied down guy.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'm on Reddit threads, I'll see people mentioning it. From my point of view, I think I'm good enough that I'll still get flown out for a couple weeks at a time. Right. I don't think people want the same people all the time. Maybe I'm just a cocky bastard.
Well, no, that's you don't have to do every talent's there for 6 weeks. You could do it in sprints where every 2 weeks it rotates or something.
Yeah, so I assume that I'll still travel a little bit for that. And the panels are the ones that have to be on site. There's still some question as to, do you always have to have all casters on site for every league? It sounds like you might not have to. Flights from Nova Scotia aren't that expensive. What you talking about? I'm like right next to New York, dog. Ain't so bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, so it's pretty whatever. I'm not concerned. I'm good. Don't worry about me, guys. I'm actually quite pleased.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I first saw it, I was really excited to cast lower division stuff because I was having so much fun casting open qualifiers. Like those are the games that are underloved, and you can do the kind of casual coverage, and it's fun. It's like low pressure, and occasionally you still see upsets or kind of fun stuff. You get to see the development part of the league, but I just keep going back to how much fucking Dota this is. It is so much casting. Like
it is insane.
During that, we are going back to 3 times a season. We're going to have 6 weeks of basically like 24/7 madness. You know, whether we're in the BTS studio and they're hosting it, or it's more decentralized and there's casters in the Moonduck studio doing stuff, or we partner with Nerd Street Gamers. Like there is the requirements for quality, the number of games, and then also just the like number of talent involved. Saying that you have to have panels for all this shit across all the languages, it's a lot of people. Like if you're a tier 2 caster right now and you're thinking, I'm not going to get any work this season, I think you need to take one of those moments and realize how much fucking shit is happening here. The tier 1 talent do not work 10-hour days anymore, dog. The 10-hour or the tier 1 talent are limiting that shit to 8 hours. They want to cast the good shit. Someone's got to cast all this other garbage. Somebody's got to cast Seed 7 versus Seed 8 in upper division. That could be you.
That could be you.
Someone's got to
What an
cast seed 4
inspirational
versus
speech.
seed 7 in the lowers, man. Someone's getting paid to do that.
And don't do it for nothing.
Yes.
They paid $140K for this league. Don't let them pay you nothing. If they want to pay you nothing, do it on your own channel.
Yes.
Yes.
That is the line. If it's on your channel, nothing is an okay deal. Sometimes because you're at least getting subs, you can get donations, you're pushing your own followers. If you're casting on someone else's channel, don't cast for $5 a game. And if they say, well, that's all we can afford, say, well, then your business model's fucked because minimum wage is my fucking minimum. Don't be afraid to say that and tell all your friends to say that. And if all of you say that, then that org kind of has to go, oh, well, shit. Okay, I guess we're paying minimum wage now. I can guarantee you that difference won't break their bank. And if it does, they're more fucked than you can imagine.
Oh, God. LD's in the call. Run.
No.
I
mean, this is like Pop-Tart. Pop-Tart is the big winner of this because there really are not many observers, and the demand for observers has gone from, PGL and DreamHack see the value in hiring European observers to that's a shitload of games. Maybe I might start picking up some observing gigs.
I thought the same thing. I was like, man, I don't know. I can come hang out for a couple weeks and observe. My observing's all right when I don't have to talk. It's actually quite good.
It's definitely easier when you're just focused on catching the action. But I'm
finito. I must go help with child.
Okay, cool. But I think expect more tweaks to come to this. This is our analysis as of now, and I think in the weeks to come, especially depending on what happens with the LA Major, all the teams in one place like that, I would guess there might be some conversations happening.
Speaking of all the teams in one place, all right, give me a 1 in the chat if you think the Major is going to happen normally, 2 if you think it'll happen with no crowd, or 3 if you think it'll get canceled. So 1, if it's going to be completely normal, 2, no crowd, 3, completely canceled. Oh, wow. A lot of no crowds.
I'm
torn.
They're
not optimistic.
Because LA still is not really a big problem coronavirus-wise. I know GDC got canceled and there's a fuckload of people there, but it's there is a very low infection rate in Los Angeles right now. So
for the aspiring and the wondering, I have heard that most of the Chinese teams have self-quarantined already. In fact, I think they all have. I think Valve must have been in communication with them, or they've just all been super on it. Because I think there have been teams in Vietnam, teams in North America already. I think IG's already here. I think Grant was casting games with Emo the other night.
Oh, wow.
So the IG's already in North America. So it sounds like the teams are all going to make it at the very least.
Okay. That's good to know.
News.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are right. America is not power testing people the way they are in China and Korea because it's not really necessary yet. I think in America we still haven't lost track of all the source infections for the most part, unless I'm totally talking out of my ass. But I don't know. I guess I didn't read the news today or yesterday, so maybe things have gotten worse in the last 48 hours. It's crazy how fast this shit evolves. You spend one day not reading and you go, oh.
Yeah, that's how a pandemic works.
So Italy's fucked now? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I had friends going. It's can't go. I mean, it's
South Korea is still. I think South Korea is just like desperately trying to do anything they can to collect data and figure out who's infected and where. But they're having more issues with the religious stuff, dude. The cults.
I'm a little spooked. With that thing. I'm a little spooked because Iran's having a really bad time, and we have a lot of Iranian immigrants. Like there's a lot of travel back and forth between Nova Scotia and Iran, so I'm a little scared.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week. We'll be talking more minor, major stuff like that. And coronavirus in California spreads to 9 counties. Article 12 minutes ago from LA Times. So, should have read the news before I opened my mouth. I'm going hard number 2 there, bud. No audience at the LA Major.
All right. We shall see. Well, thanks, everyone. This was a fun podcast.
It sure was.
I had a very good time.
I love it when we have like dense stuff to unpack and really dive into.
Remember when we didn't think we were like, man, what are we going to talk about next week?
Yeah, right. So we'll be back Be kind to yourselves and kind to each other, folks. Thanks for listening. Find the podcast about 24 hours on the Moonduck YouTube. And please check out the audio only. Subscribe on the podcast. We've got it everywhere. Spotify, iTunes. Big shout out to the Blink Entertainment Network for supporting this podcast, making sure Tangos possible.
We love you.
Get it all set up. We love your reviews. If you're an iTunes user and you like the podcast, I see those downloads, thousands of downloads. Hit that 5-star, buddy, or whatever star you think is appropriate for the podcast. But I know it's 5.
But it's probably 5.
Bye-bye, everybody.